Hey everyone, let's make a microwave edit on Premiere Pro. Here's what I've just made, and these are the stages I will guide you through. By the way, no plugins are required besides RSMB, which is entirely optional for a finishing touch. First, I'm going to make a new sequence with the following settings. So head over to File, New, Sequence, and head over to Settings. Now, first of all, change the time base to 30 and change the frame size to whatever you like, but I prefer 1080 by 1440. Name your sequence. This is very important, but I usually just name it main, like that, and then the name of the style, so microwave. I'm going to put microwave 2 because this is my second example, and I'm going to click OK. Now let's import our audio. I'm simply going to drag it onto my timeline. This is the name of the song, by the way, if you want to find it. It's called ISQ Void Slowed, and using the razor tool I've just cut it down to my desired segment, so take a listen. Now let's mark the beat. So we've got beat 1, which is at the very start, so that won't be necessary to mark. Then the second one is around, I think, this one right here. So I'm going to press M on my keyboard. Now, if you are over it, if you're hovering over it, it might highlight your audio. So if you press M after that, it will place the marker directly on the audio, which will not make a big difference. It's just that it will stick with your audio. So if you move it around, you can see it's over there. But if I place it directly on the timeline, so if I press M and move the audio, you can see it stays right there. So now I've got 4 markers, 1 at the start. In fact, I will place 1 anyway, just to help me. So 1 here, 2, 3, and 4, which means I'm going to have 4 clips in total. So import it onto your timeline. I've got these 2 here from 2 different characters. So I'm just going to unlink the audio because I don't want that at all. So right click, unlink, and delete your audio. Before you make any cuts, make sure to scale your clips. So if you head over to Effect Controls and down to Motion Scale, just turn it up. I'm going to continue increasing mine because down here there's this back button which I don't really want visible. I don't like that, so I'm going to keep on increasing it and then maybe move it slightly up, but it looks a bit strange. So I'm actually not going to be using this clip. Just going to find another one, maybe like this one here, which is like a close-up on his upper body. So yeah, this one looks good. Just gonna frame it, might zoom out just a bit, and no, you can see the back button down there, so gonna scale it up. You don't want to push it away too much, otherwise the video will just go out of frame completely. So something like this is fine. And then what you want to do is make your cut. So let's say it begins here and then speeds up, slows down around here, and then speeds up again around this part. So this will be the end. So I'm going to make another cut. My best advice would be to try and visualize it. So imagine it speeds up here, so right here, very fast, and then slow, and then speeds up again. So that is how much you will need. So what I'm going to do is just grab this to the very start. I'm also going to get rid of my other clips just to make it a bit easier to explain, and I'm going to push this down onto video 1. The first thing you want to do is right click your clip, nest, and click OK. Then open it up by double clicking on it and head over to sequence settings and change the time base to 60 frames per second. I recommend this because most of these 3D scene packs, I don't really know what they're called, they tend to be in 60 frames per second, but because our main sequence is in 30 frames per second, we are missing half of the frames. It just cuts it out completely. So yeah, those extra frames will make a, well, not a huge difference, but they will make some sort of improvement. So 60 frames per second, click OK, and close this nested sequence. Now we're back here. It's time to time remap. So we're going to expand this by clicking on this bar here and just pushing it up like so. Or you can hold Alt on your keyboard and use the scroll wheel like so, which is a bit easier. So just expand it and right click this tiny FX box here. Head over to time remapping, speed. Remember what I said, it speeds up and then, no, sorry, it slows down, starting off fairly quick. So it's very quick, slows down, and then it gets quicker towards the end. So what we want to do is head 1 frame ahead from the start, hold Control on your keyboard and left click to place a keyframe. Now first of all, you want to extend this, so just click and grab the right side and pull it to the right. I'd say halfway between your first marker and your second marker. So you can see there's these 2 here, the first and the second. I'm going to place it somewhere towards the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect. It would be best if it's accurate, centered towards the middle. So yeah, do that. So my keyframe is right here, and I'm going to pull the very start, this bar here, not this one here, all the way up to, let's go 500. I did try to do 1000, and even though it was good, I feel like it was a bit too fast. So you know what, we can try that, but for now I'm just going to put it up to 500%. Again, it does not have to be perfect. Anywhere around 500 is fine. So I'm going to let go, and I'm going to stretch this out towards the middle, maybe around here. There you go, perfect. Now let's take a look. So that's pretty good, I think. If you think that's too slow and you want more impact, no problem, double it. So go from 500. Now I know it's a bit tricky, so you might have to try and zoom in and just, you know, squeeze in there, but double it. So from 500 all the way up to 1000, somewhere around 1000. So I mean, yeah, sure, 999 will do, I guess. There you go. It's not really, yeah, there you go, perfect. So again, I'm going to stretch out to the middle, and let's see how this looks. It's going to have much more impact. Do you see that? Now that we've learned how to make it deaccelerate, let's make it accelerate again towards the end. So head about maybe 1 or 2 frames before the marker, like that. It doesn't really matter. Then do the same thing as we did at the start. So hold Control on your keyboard, right click, and drag this marker all the way to the left, like so. There's a fly on my screen. Get off. It won't go. Okay, you can stay there. It's really distracting, sorry. But as I was saying, yeah, stretch it to the middle, and what you want to do is pull this bar here on the right. So after this keyframe, just pull this bar all the way up to 1000, because 500, I mean, whilst it does look good, it doesn't have as much impact. So I think 1000 looks best. Now if you're at a stage where, so if I just let go, you're missing frames, or if you're just missing any clips, you can see here I've got this like weird texture on my nested sequence. So this is because if I just double click, you can see it's not got enough frames to work with. So basically it's not long enough. So all we need to do is just extend it like that. Perfect. And now you won't have any issues with it. So I'm not sure where this appeared from, this thing at the bottom. So if I just click away and click back, you can get rid of it. So if I just head over to effect controls up here, highlight this little bit and press delete on my keyboard, and well, it's done this. I'm not too sure why. I'm just going to extend it. There you go, everything's fine. It's very likely that you'll run into these kind of issues, which is why I'm not removing this from the video. I want you to understand how you can encounter these issues, because, well, everyone faces them. So yeah, let's continue with this. So I'm going to pull this keyframe to the right like that, leaving a small gap between the marker. So if I just play it back, there you go, not bad at all. Slows down and speeds up. So yeah, that's pretty good. I think we can make some adjustments. So if I click on this keyframe, you'll see this little handle here, and if you pull it to the right or the left, depends on which side, I think. So if I pull this to the right, you can see it creates a slope. Now this can be quite beneficial. It really does depend, I think. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks absolutely awful. So it basically kind of like smoothens it out. You don't have to do this. I am going to do it anyway, just to see how it looks. So I'm going to pull this side as well to the left. You can see it's created a very nice slope. So if I play it back, not bad. Also, I forgot to mention, you can make this slower towards the middle rather than keeping at 100%. So just here at the very center, you can dip this down to something even lower. So let's go maybe like 50%, and it may look choppy because we've just cut down the speed. For me it doesn't, because remember, I'm editing on a 30 FPS sequence whilst the clip itself is 60. I hope that makes sense. Basically, there are enough frames for us to work with. If yours is looking very slow or choppy, then don't worry, that's normal. Premiere Pro has something built in called Optical Flow, and it basically smoothens things out. We'll do that just in a second, but right now just focus on time remapping your other clips. I'm going to quickly sneak into my other sequence and copy and paste them over to my new one, because I don't really want to do it all again. But check it out, this is what I've got so far. And yeah, same method applied with the keyframe. So just go back and watch it again if you need to just relearn how to do time remapping on your other clips. Now's our chance to make them smooth. So let's highlight all of them, right click, head over to speed/duration and change the time interpolation to optical flow and click OK. Then we're going to nest these all again. So I'm going to select my first one. If it makes it easier, you can close this. So I'm just going to what's the opposite of expand? De-expand? I don't really know, but I'm just going to make it smaller, I suppose. Right click, nest, OK, and do this for my other clips as well. Now, I'm not too sure if I was meant to select or change the time interpolation to optical flow after, because at the moment it's on, whoops, as you just saw, it was on optical flow. So I don't know if it still looks choppy. What I recommend doing is not changing it to optical flow, but nesting it and then changing the main sequence to optical flow instead. So this sequence, this nest that we just created, and that should definitely fix the issue. But now let's move on to, I suppose we could do coloring. So head over to window, assuming you don't have Lumetri color here, head over to window and find Lumetri color, this one right here. It's going to open up a panel somewhere. So for me, I don't know why it's placed it in between here, so I'm just going to drag it and place it here just for convenience. And what I'm going to do is color grade it, so change it to whatever you like. I'm going to, for this example, turn down the temperature just for a colder look. That looks okay. Honestly, it looked better on my other example, so what I'm going to do is just copy and paste it over. In fact, I've just realized I'm using the wrong clip. This is not, everything is off about this clip that I chose. He looks homeless here. So I'm just gonna, what I'm gonna do is just remove this one and copy and paste this onto my new one. Much better. Anyways, I may as well use this example to show you how I color grade. So before and after. So literally all I did was turn down the temperature from 0 down to -100 for that colder look. Turn up the contrast. So yeah, I do recommend turning up the contrast no matter what you're doing, so your colors kind of like stand out, look more striking. And also I turn down these shadows. This might not always work or look good. Sometimes it can kind of like break your clip. So far, so good. Now it's time to make our transitions. So head over to effects and search for transform. But wait, don't drag this onto your clip. We need to actually make an adjustment layer first. So head over to your product tab and okay, it's a mess. I'm so sorry. But right click somewhere here, new item, adjustment layer, click OK. Drag it on top of your clip like that and extend it to the end. Then you can add on transform. So where is it? Right there onto the adjustment layer. And the first thing we're going to do is make a, not an X shake, but a Y shake, which looks like this. Then after that, we're going to make a X shake, which is left and right. So Y is up and down. So let's begin by keyframing the scale. I'm going to set this to 130 and I'm going to head somewhere towards the end. It does not have to be right to the end. In fact, I don't recommend moving all the way to the end because you know, it can make it look a bit stiff, which usually isn't the case, but I've noticed for some reason it does that. But so yeah, just reset this back to 100. You can click on this tiny arrow. So 130 at the beginning, 100 at the end. Open up the graph by clicking on this tiny arrow next to the stopwatch. And what I'm going to do is pull this handle for the second keyframe all the way to the left, making sure it's on level. So you see this bar over here, make sure that the handle is touching it like that, but also make sure that it's not too high, because otherwise you'll be able to see the border around the clip, so you don't want that visible. So I'm just going to pull it, and in fact what you can do is head to the keyframe and one frame back, and you can use the velocity to help you. So if it's a positive value, you've messed up, so just push it down until it hits 0 or a negative value that's close to 0. So negative 3.4 is pretty good, but I do want it a bit closer. I'm going to just try and adjust it if I can. If not, that's completely fine. It does not matter. 8.6, nope, we don't want that. Negative 3.4 will do, I suppose. Then I'm going to scroll down and uncheck this here. I don't really know what it does, but people do it anyway. Then I'm going to increase the shutter angle all the way up to 360. Now what this does is it controls the motion blur. So if you think there's too much, so if I just play it, if you think there's too much, I mean at the moment you can't see much because we haven't actually made the shake using position, but yeah, as I said, if you think there's too much, just turn it down to like 180, which will half it. But I'm going to keep it at 360 because I want you to see the shake. We're going to make it using position, so head to the start, keyframe the position and push it all the way up somewhere around here, but make sure that, you know, this part here isn't visible. Make sure the clip is still in frame, so somewhere around here, there you go. And I'm going to head 1-2 frames ahead and put it all the way down. So we're doing the opposite thing. You can see this is visible, so I'm just going to push it up until it's not. Something like that, perfect. Then I'm going to do, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I might be wrong, I'm not too sure. But here on the 6th frame, you want to reset this back to its original value. Then what you're going to do is highlight all of them, right click, head over to spatial interpolation, I think, and select linear. This will fix up any weird like movements with the position. I don't know why Premiere has this feature, but yeah. Anyways, next you want to highlight the last two and right click, head over to temporal interpolation, ease in, this one right here, just for the last two. So now you should have a, what was it? Not an X, Y shake. So it should look like this, like that. And you can actually copy and paste this over to your other one. So there you go. Let's make some improvements. To be specific, we're going to improve the scale because it's not as sharp as it should be. So what I'm going to do is just move this handle to the left and slightly down like that. And you may or may not notice a difference. I do notice a difference. It looks much more like snappy. I don't know if you see it as well, but the impact is much greater. So yeah, next we need to, let's see. What do we make next? Let's try making a X shake, and then I'll show you how to make a small like exposure transition or effect, should I say. So I'm going to use these two examples for the next shake. So again, adjustment layer on top. I'm just going to remove this transform effect. In fact, wait, no, we could use this to help us because we've already got the scale. So there's no point remaking it. Instead, what I'm going to do is get rid of all of these keyframes, and because it's an X shake, it's left and right. So let's start with the left side. So I'm going to push it all the way to the left, making sure that this edge isn't visible. So somewhere around here, 1, 2, and I'm going to push it to the right this time. So the opposite side. You can do it the other way around if you really want to. It depends. So you could start with the right side, then the left, but I've done left, then right. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and reset to the middle, highlight all of them, right click, spatial interpolation, linear, highlight the last two, right click, temporal interpolation, ease in. And if we take a look, okay, not bad. I think it could have more impact, although that can be sorted very easily once we add exposure. So yeah, let's work on that next. So first of all, I'm going to duplicate my shake onto my next clip, so like that. Remember you can cut it down. So if it's too long, if it's like this, just cut it down and then place it on top. Simple. If it's too short, well, you don't really need to extend it because there aren't any keyframes in effect, you see, because the scale's at 100 and so is the position back at its original value. So if you want to, you can extend it, doesn't really matter, or cut it down. So for example here, it's obviously too long, so I'm going to cut it down like that. But yeah, we've got an X and Y shake so far. Now let's add the exposure thing I was talking about. So we're going to open up Lumetri Color. This one's on the clip itself. I don't know if it's better to add it on the adjustment layer. I assume it's not, but we're going to open it up and I'm going to keyframe the exposure to 2 at the beginning, which may be a bit too bright depending on your preference. I'm going to try 2 anyway and head about, let's go 5, 10, 15 frames ahead. In fact, I think 10 is fine. Yeah, 10 should be okay. Then I'm going to reset it back to 0, right click, ease in. Let's see how that looks. Not bad. I think the best way to see if it looks good is to literally just copy and paste these exposure keyframes over to my other one. So I don't know if this actually works. Paste. It does. Awesome. Can I highlight multiple and then paste? Does that work? No, that didn't. So let me just do this one. Paste, paste. Let's see how that looks with just the ease in. So no other modifications to our graph. Not bad at all. And to finish it off, I'm going to add a flicker overlay. So this one right here, if I just reset everything. So this is what it looks like usually. I'm going to leave a download link to this overlay, to this flicker overlay in the description below, and also to this dirt overlay. And what you want to do is, first of all, change the speed. So right click on the flicker overlay, speed duration, change it to 50. So it's half the speed. Also, of course, scale it up because at the moment it's going to, when you import it, it's going to be like this. Change the opacity to 75 and the blend mode to multiply. And yeah, you're going to get a flicker effect, of course. And then for the dust, place it on the very top. Change the speed to 75% and opacity anywhere from like 20 to 50, depends on what you prefer. I did 20, and then the blend mode to screen. Makes it look a little better, otherwise it looks a bit dull. So yeah, now we can finish it off by pushing these two overlays up. Now remember, you can only do this part if you have RSMB. It adds motion blur to your clip. It is a third-party plugin, but it's not exactly necessary. In fact, I am going to do a comparison. So this is what it looks like without motion blur, so without RSMB, even though, you know, we do technically have motion blur because of the transform effect, but this is a after. So with RSMB, you can see the difference. It is a bit obvious. So yeah, it's up to you, but basically you want to place an adjustment layer in between of the overlays and the clips and also the adjustment layer, and add on RSMB Pro. Then what you want to do is change the blur amount to 1. And that's everything you need to do to replicate this microwave edit style on Premiere Pro. Feel free to subscribe and I will make more tutorials just like this one.